Hello, my name is Daniel G. Wilson, and this is DGAW Interviews. Today on Interviews, I'll be talking to Lume. How are you, gentlemen?
What's going on?
Great. How are you?
I'm fine on this wonderful, wonderful late spring day. Now, tell me, gentlemen, I have a question. My first question for you guys is the same job.
Same job, yes. That's something that we all do, is the same job. We all work at Zounds.com. It's an online music store. It's pretty much Guitar Center, all online. We all kind of have different positions there, though.
Yeah, we've all worked our way up into different areas and kind of spread across. He does marketing. Dan does. He Austin does a little bit of marketing, and also some sales work. And I help run the Reverb store. There's Reverb.com where we sell some other stuff that we have. So I help run that as well. But yeah, we're all working there. It's pretty cool because they allow us to do stuff like this, like come to Canada and be able to take time off and tour, and that's a very, very positive aspect that we kind of hold on to.
Yeah, so. Definitely a freedom aspect to the job that makes it super beneficial.
Yeah.
And all of us being in separate parts, it's easy too because we don't all work in the same department, so it's not a big loss when we all need to go on tour. So it's all separated. It's perfect.
Nice. Well, I always like to hear when a band has their personal lives together. That's awesome. You'd be surprised how many don't. Now, speaking of working together, you all live in the same city of Chicago, but you all are from Michigan. Are fine neighbors to technically since we're in the GTA, it's kind of technically either the west or south, depending on where you are. But tell me, what is it like? What was or is the Michigan scene like, and the Chicago scene currently that you guys reside in? Tell me about it. Tell me about the scenes.
Do you want to say about that, Dan? Because I have a lot to say.
Dan's the one who's got a little bit more experience. He's the wiser one. He'll fill you in.
I don't know, man. I mean, there's definitely a lot more going on in Chicago as far as you could go to basically any number of shows on any given night in Chicago. There could be 80 different things happening. Whereas Michigan, it's kind of a much smaller, tighter knit scene. But I don't know. I think that's the main difference for me. I don't know what these guys think.
Well, yeah. I mean, when it comes to Michigan scene, as of right now, it's pretty much dead. The only thing that I know of is when it comes to Detroit, there's the hardcore scene, heavier music seems to thrive more in Michigan, and so with Chicago, it's there's you were saying, one night there'll be a show that caters to this genre. There'll be multiple shows in one night, spreading out the whole style of music. You can go to any different style in any night. Whereas Michigan, if you don't like hardcore, then there's not really too much of a place.
Well, I think
there is. I don't want to segregate it to just hardcore, but I'd say is the vast majority.
Yeah. But also I think too a lot of that has to do with population. There's almost 3 million people in Chicago, so having that many people and it being spread out throughout all of these different people have different views and different styles, and obviously you're gonna have different genres and you have different shows and there's gonna be a different scene. But as far as Port Huron goes, where we're from originally is Port Huron, Michigan. So as far as that scene goes, it's always been fluctuating up and down. And just recently, there's a new venue that just opened up there, Loud, which we just played at last night. It's a record store that has shows in the basement, and it's cool to see that there's an actual venue that's legit. That's not a house show. That's not a hall. It's a place where you can come and communicate. And if more places like that happen in Michigan, I feel like the scene's gonna grow. And the west side of Michigan, Kalamazoo and Grand Rapids, is insane. That's amazing. But as far as the East Coast, the East Side goes, more towards Canada, it is a little bit more rougher scene, but it's getting there.
West Coast represent. I'm never doing that again. So, now, my next question for you guys, speaking of Canada, you guys have an interesting relationship with Canadian bands. Two in particular, Terry Green and Worst Gift. Actually, this is very reminiscent of when I interviewed Worst Gift before. But tell me about Worst Gift for you guys. How is that relationship?
They're great. Susan helped actually with some of our shows on this tour. And just in general, like our buddy Dave Collis, who's in the band Slow Mass from Chicago, he reached out to us when Whiskif was coming in. He's like, hey, I've got this band. I think you guys would be really into them. Would you mind being like the local support? And we had no idea. We've never heard of the band before. None of us have. And then so he's like, yeah, we'll try it out. We'll give it a shot. So we went there and we like set it all up and we helped kind of like get the show together. And once we got there and played and we saw them play and we're just like, our minds were blown. Afterwards, we're like, this band's so good. Like, we just knew right away that they're just like something different. So we went and talked to them afterwards, and we kind of like hung out for a little bit and became friends. And since then, they've kind of helped us out with this tour and just in general in communication. And they're just like so involved in the art, in the scene, and also just in general, they're doing a style of music, a type of music that I think is lacking in as far as like there's gaps in music everywhere, but from what I'm listening to, it's always cool to hear a band that's kind of pushing the boundaries and filling gaps in other areas that I am like kind of lacking in as far as my musical listening. So I think they're awesome. They're a really good relationship, and like it's nothing but awesome things to say about them. And same with Terry Green. They helped us with this show. Like if it wasn't for Terry Green, we wouldn't even be having this interview right now. So like that's you got to thank them as well. Like they hooked us up as well. And the last time we saw them play, it was also one of those things. Like we had no idea who they were. We kind of heard word of mouth that they were really cool. And then when we saw them like go on stage and just literally go insane and give like everything they had and like destroy their instruments basically, at the end of that show we were like, okay, like these guys are also something different. So we really appreciate Canada. There's another band called Itsuko Chiba that's from Montreal. They're also great friends of ours, and it's just really cool to see that like a lot of Canadian bands pushing boundaries. They're not staying within a genre. They're not staying within like a tight-knit thing where they only have one focused tunnel vision. They're just accepting everything and everyone. Excuse me, can't even talk. Everything and everyone, and they're just like putting every style and every flavor into their music, which makes it very interesting. And that's why we love touring here. You know, it's a blast. So yeah, I don't know if you guys have anything else to say. Sorry, it's rant on those guys because it's too good.
Killed it.
Well, as a Canadian, I have to say thank you for the compliment. I must say, you guys would have enjoyed listening to music from Mississauga specifically over the past 20 years. We don't really pay attention to genres at all.
That's great.
The amount of bands we've had that have everything from rap to metal to extreme metal to reggae, but not in a lame way.
Yeah.
Now, I have a question. Who's the cute one in the band?
I think Austin probably.
Yeah,
He's the youngest one. He's the little baby boy. I think the drummer he is for sure.
Yeah,
he's the
curls are
youngest.
natural too.
Yeah, he curls his hair every morning. Takes him like an hour.
It takes me about an hour, 2 hours sometimes. Depends on if I have my own curling iron, if I use the house's curling iron. It really depends on the situation, but yeah. And then like all the other accessories, the shoes, it's a lot of work, but I feel like I put in enough to, you know. I mean, the people love it too, so you got to do it for the people.
And it shows. It shows. All right, now my next question. Your favorite Golden Girl. Your favorite Golden Girls, everybody?
Dan?
I don't know, man.
This question tears me apart. I don't know if I can answer this question because I struggle with it daily.
You sound really invested in this one.
Yeah,
well, this is like a.
I'm not.
If I know what the term Golden Girl is, you referring to like, just like a famous.
The show.
He's talking about the show.
Show.
I have no idea what Golden Girls is then. I have no idea. I thought it was a general term you were using.
No.
So I figured I turned to you guys because I thought like your girl, like Candace or Katie, like would know, like you know.
I
I thought they watched your show.
I thought you were
so,
using the term Golden Girl as like a famous.
Golden Girls before both of your times.
Yeah, see, I'm
Yeah,
too young,
see?
man.
I
too
don't
young.
know.
If you're referring to like famous like Golden Girl as in like who's your like
a
the
golden,
famous,
a girl
like,
that
hot
is golden,
chick that you like.
a girl that is golden.
Yeah, I thought you were using that as that term. Otherwise, I have no idea what that is, to be honest.
Mine is Christina Hendricks, but I'm talking about the show, so that's neither here nor there.
That's awesome.
Well then, moving on. My next question for you guys. So you guys have a new album out, well, relatively new, since January. Tell me about the process of making that, which I believe that's your first proper like full length album, correct?
Yeah.
Explain what the process was making that album and the making the album and also kind of having it released by Mayfly Records, if I'm reading correctly.
Yes. I can talk about that for a second. And basically what happened is Bob reached out to us, Bob from Mayfly Records, and he's like, hey, we want to help put out an album. And we had kind of like he had a date in mind. So we're like, okay, we'll see what we could do. And we were going to put out an EP, but he suggested a full length because of like the length of our songs and kind of the style of music they were playing, which I'm glad he did because it's a good idea to kind of put out a full record. So we crunched down, and in about like 2.5, 3 months, we wrote like all the songs. So we just kind of like every day after work and like in between on the weekends, we'd get together and just write and write. So we wrote like everything all together, and I would say probably like 2 months. So we got that all done, and then afterwards we handed it over we were recorded with our friend Adrian at Bricktop Studios. Bricktop's in Chicago. It's like a local studio. It's really cool. They usually do like harder, heavier power violins, hardcore type stuff. Which in our benefit, that's very good for like tonally. They had a lot of cool amps to choose from. They had a lot of like, aggressive type style of they knew how to set that up for like the things that we're kind of going for. Even though we're not a hardcore band, we kind of love to have that aggressive push and that loud sound. So that worked out very well. Adrian's a great engineer, so he helped out with that. And then Bob did such a good job. He helped do the PR. He helped get the records really fast. And he just, in general, like anytime I ever have a question or anytime like we're ever thinking about doing anything, we always kind of consult with him first. And he just walks us through everything step by step. And he's just so helpful. I cannot say anything negative at all about Mayfly. It's nothing but 100% positive things, and he's done nothing but just guide us in the best direction possible. So that's that, and the recording process was just us jamming, live, tracking, and then doing a couple overdubs, and that was about it.
Exactly, yeah.
Yep. You guys have anything else you want to add? Or?
No, I mean, we really just went into it with the thought that we were going to write a record, like, on vinyl. Mm-hmm. So we kind of went into it with the thought that we'd write side A and side B. That's why a lot of the songs kind of run into each other. We really made sure that each side was super cohesive. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we wrote the whole thing, I think, in a course of like 2 months.
Yeah, I think it was like maybe 2.5 at the most.
Yeah, we were really crunched for time, because when Bob hit us up, he had like an idea to put it out on a certain date, and we were a little bit nervous.
When
but
he brought up the idea, we had none of it written.
Yeah, we had none of it written, so...
From that moment until the moment that we recorded, we basically wrote the whole thing.
Yeah, so it was a little bit stressful, but it was good to have that experience and to see how we function under that sort of like,
pressure.
Time and pressure. But yeah, it was good. It was a great process, and it's a huge learning experience.
Great. Well, I have to say, all the work you put in really shows on the record. It really does show.
Thank you.
Now, for my next question, Dylan.
Yep.
You once held, on October 22nd, 2011, you once held a white trash party. Tell me about that.
Oh my god. You really dug deep for that.
Trash party.
Oh my god.
This is the best question I've ever heard.
That is a really good question. Jeez. Wow. I gotta learn from you. Okay, so basically what happened, I was in a band previous to this band, and it was a band in Port Huron, Michigan, and my grandma was moving out of her house. She had like a decent house, and she was moving down the street, and she was gonna put her house up for rent. So I contacted her. She's been living there
her whole life.
She's been living there like forever.
So it's a lot of history of the house.
So I was like, yeah, I would love to rent out your house. That'd be great. So I ended up getting with my grandma and being like, hey, let's work this out. So we made a deal, and I started renting out her house. And of course, I brought my whole band with me. So the whole band moved in with me to the house, which I thought at the time would be like a great idea, but it was the worst idea ever. Because it was a 3-bedroom, and we had 5 people living in there. And like we just had dudes like sleeping in the living room on couches. Like that was their rooms. And like it was just like all like, it was a mess. It was great. It was a fun time, but it's just like, if like 2 or 3 people had a friend over, it's such a small little house. Like 10 people felt like a rager, like a party. So we decided like, we were like, how can we make money towards rent and towards all this other stuff? Because we were paying for like toilet paper and like this is my first time one of my first times moving out. So I'd have to pay for all these different utilities and all these little things. So I was like, how can we do this to make it more affordable? So like, what if we threw themed parties and like had people come dressed like, you know, we'll do like a tuxedo party and we'll do like all these different parties and had people come and like pay for the keg, or like people come and like give us their cans, or like do whatever we can to like scrape up money, you know what I mean? So we had an idea of like having a keg and having people come to a white trash theme party. So we all like just dressed up as like so crappy American, just all looking super dirty and like wearing American flag stuff, like belly shirts and mullets and like, and it was a blast. It was a really good time. Like things got pretty wild towards the end, and like we had to kind of like disperse everybody. But you know, that's what happens when alcohol and white trash gets involved. So it ended up being great, but it was a good time. It was a good time, that's for sure. Yeah.
Very cool. Speaking of your old band, from here on out.
Oh, man. You really did your research here.
Oh man, he's good.
Yes. What would you like to know?
Tell me about this previous band of yours.
Okay, so you want to say?
I have nothing.
Alright, let me chime in. So from here on out, started part here in Michigan. Me, Dylan. Actually, it didn't start with Dylan. Dylan actually didn't join until afterwards. I believe it was originally Kevin Lynch, if I'm correct.
Mm-hmm.
We went through like various different band members, but so it was like me, Kevin Lynch, Zach Ganley, Ryan Balderson, Brandon Harkoft, Andrew Rivetta. We ended up morphing, changing band members, switching it out. It ended up being the last set we had was me, Dylan, Anthony, Brandon, and Andrew. And it was pretty much like I mean, we're all super young, so like what was like cool at the time was like it was kind of like, I don't want to say, it was like a punk. Yeah, it was like a punk like influences to more kind of get a better idea of what we sounded like. We're like Saints Never Surrender were like huge influences of ours, and then like bands like that,
Such Gold,
Touche Amore, like bands like that were like huge influences. So like we would just pretty much, because we were younger, it was like all like we would just party and like play shows, and just we didn't really tour too much because we were all kind of younger, and we all had other things going on. So like we didn't do it like full time, but we ended up like putting out like an EP, which we recorded with Cody.
No, Joel Odie.
Jody. I combined it.
Joel Odie. He used to play bass in Comeback Kid, and he had this hardcore band called Brothers. It was a really good band from like the Grand Rapids area. So we recorded with him, and that was like a 3-song EP that's still on Bandcamp right now, which like turned out okay. But it's just like it was difficult because at the time we were young and we were just like in that phase of like just partying and having a good time and not worrying. Like, we didn't really care like where the music was going. Majority of us like didn't really care. So like the whole time it was just about having a blast, which is cool. That's a cool thing to do. But after like, you know, doing it for a couple of years, you realize like, okay, like there's nothing happening here because we're just enjoying ourselves. So there's a point in time where if you want to do it, you almost have to like take it a little bit more seriously. So that's like when everything kind of dispersed with that band, we decided to do this because we're like, all right, let's kind of like take our deep-rooted influences from like even when I was younger, like, and then also take the mindset of like, let's kind of like try to do something other than just party and have a good time, which is nothing wrong with that. It's just like it's cool to try to like get a little bit more sometimes. So that's basically why the band kind of broke up at the time.
Well, I must say your music is very non-party like. I mean, Andrew WK would be appalled.
Yeah, that is very true.
Dylan, the claw machine.
The claw machine.
You like claw machines.
How do you know these things, man? You really are digging deep here. So basically, the claw machine thing is it. Okay, so I had this idea for a reality TV show. Okay, so this was my thing. I like to like try to go to places and like win stuff out of claw machines. But I had this like idea. I was like, what if I had a reality TV show where I traveled around and I was like super into claw machines, and it was like really dramatic, like me dropping the claw, and like behind the scenes cut of me like, you know, spending my like last dollar on the claw machine, and people trying like almost like an addict. You know how you have this shit like strange addictions or whatever, where they're eating like foam or like weird things.
Yeah.
I thought about like, what if I like was on that show or had my own show where I was just obsessed with claw machines? Because like it's not that I'm like obsessed with them, but I definitely could be if I let myself be. So it's just something I like. It's because it's like 50 cents, sometimes $1, and just the thought of like gambling and then winning that, and like if you're really skilled, I'm not like too skilled, but I mean like I can jiggle it a little bit. You know, I can work my way around it. But yeah, I think it's definitely something I enjoy for sure.
Okay.
He escaped.
He escaped. He ran to the restroom real fast. We're good.
I gotta run to the bathroom. Be right back.
Okay. Okay then. So, Dylan, my next question for you. You once had a Law Dispute album boner.
Yes, yeah. When I was younger, there's a few local bands, like around like 8th, 9th grade. There's a few local bands that were kind of like the center of my life at one point. Like around, it was more like 9th grade. It was like Bear versus Shark, Law Dispute. I can't even think right now. Like Native, when they're kind of like more Indiana, but like when I was younger, like those were the type of bands that I would like either see or hear of or listen to. Where I was like, these bands are amazing, these are so sick. And like Somewhere at the Bottom was a really like influential album for me as far as like getting me to push my boundaries as far as listening to music, you know, because what you hear on MTV or Fuse when I was younger, Fuse was a big thing, was only the only music I could listen to. So it was like, you know, Taking Back Sunday, like The Used, My Chemical Romance, things you'd see on TV. And then once you started getting into like local type shows and local type events, you'd only hear of the bands that were kind of happening, unless you were going to more shows, which when I was younger I wasn't going to too many. But since I heard of those bands happening, I really kind of delved deep into them. And Somewhere at the Bottom was like a record where I was like, man, I could just relate to it at the time. And when it came out, like it was super influential. And that's actually why From Here on Out recorded with Joel Odie. Because Joel actually he tracked that album. And that's how I found out about him, because I opened up the vinyl that I had and I saw like, you know, recorded by Joel Odie. So I was like, yeah, we need to go there, because that's a great record. So yeah, that's definitely, I guess, the boner that I had.
Nice. Well, what a wonderful orgasm you've had from those influences.
Yes, you could say that for sure.
Okay, now here's a question for you guys. Now, you guys have, over the past, how long would you say you guys have been doing this for? For the past couple of years, correct?
Yeah. Like we just hit 2 years, didn't we?
Yeah.
April, May. Yeah.
Would have been.
Actually, no. The May 31st will be our 2-year mark. So yeah.
In that time, you guys have accumulated with your, I must say, great talent. You guys have accumulated a lot of buzz and attention around yourselves. You guys were featured in 25 Artists to Look For. I forget which magazine that's for.
I believe, was it a Chicago magazine, or was it just a general?
New Noise?
No, I think that was Independent Music News.
Was it? Okay. Yeah.
You also have accumulated buzz with your local Chicago scene, and you have also got the attention of Converse. Now tell me, how you guys feel about, say, all this, in my opinion, deserved attention, and then after, tell me about Converse.
I mean, it all feels great. It feels awesome to be recognized for something that you work super hard on.
That response has been really well with, you know, like the Chicago scene and our hometown. Obviously, everyone from our hometown is just so supportive. But when we moved to Chicago and really hit it off, I really started hitting it in Chicago, the response was just as good. Like, people were super into it, and everyone there is, like, the scene there is very welcoming and warming. So it was really nice to kind of come to a new scene that's so big and to have people be so, like, welcoming and just, like, open. But yeah, I'll let you finish on the Converse thing.
Oh yeah, I mean, as far as Converse goes, like that was a super great experience. Like they reached out to us after we we submitted our music just kind of like on a whim to their Rubber Tracks program, and not thinking that we would ever hear anything from them. And they contacted us and basically offered us a trip to Seattle to record at Avast Recording, which is, you know, it's a studio where some of like our most iconic, at least for me, I don't know about these guys, but some of my most iconic
Bands
records
like
were
and
recorded there. Earth was recorded there. Even like big, like Death Cab is a big influence of mine, and almost all of their records were recorded there. A lot of Sub Pop stuff gets recorded there. Phil Eck, the producer, works out of there all the time. We actually got to meet him because he came in and got like Converse shoes one day.
Sorry to interrupt, but Phil X, the guitar player?
No, Phil Eck. He's like a...
Oh, Phil X, sorry.
Yeah, he's a producer that did like Band of Horses, Fleet Foxes, Father John Misty, just a bunch of like that kind of Seattle sound type of stuff. But yeah, it was awesome to work there. We got to work with this really cool guy named Brian. He's worked with like the late David Bowie, and he's worked with, you know, it was kind of a little bit out of our element just because he works with a lot of pop artists, but kind of came together and made some cool music. But yeah, it was a super great experience.
Awesome,
we
man.
love Seattle. I mean, we'd love to go back there. We're probably going to do some more stuff with Converse in July when we go through Boston, but we're still kind of setting that up. But.
Awesome. All right, now, Austin, you like Skyrim?
Yeah. That's a deep one. It's a deeper one. It's actually funny you bring that up. I was just like looking up, like when I get into games, I don't play games as much now because of like our schedule and how much we like practice and do stuff. But like Skyrim was a game I got a while ago when it first came out. It's like an RPG style game, and yeah, when I got into it, I was pretty addicted. I will admit, I was a Skyrim. When I get into games, I'm like, I get into them hard, and like I don't stop playing them. It's like when I find a new band I really like, or like a new album I really like. I'll listen to the album like over and over again for like a month straight, and then I'll just like beat that album to death, and then like I'll be done with it. It's kind of what I do with video games, and Skyrim was one of them. When I got in Skyrim, I just like played it until like I was like literally sick of it like every day, and then just I haven't really touched it since. I played it for like probably like a month or two, just like straight almost every day, and it was probably considered a dark time in my life because I wasn't doing much, but it was it was an interesting experience. But yeah, that game rules. I love that game.
Now, I've been curious. You guys have a very interesting sound. It's both intense yet laid back. It's subdued yet gut-wrenching in a good way. It has the amount of tags you have, for example, on your bank to describe yourself. I find them to be very appropriate. Describe your sound. Explain why you guys have such a familiar yet kind of subversive sound. Interesting take on post-hardcore if you mind the label.
Yeah. Well, to me, I think that's like one of the most difficult parts about what we do is describing what we do. And I know that might sound insane. It's like, but out of everything that we do, as far as practicing, getting money for tour, booking the tour, like all that stuff's kind of like hard to do. But it's the hardest part. In my point is describing to people what we're trying to do, because I don't even think we really know. Like the label thing is like our Bandcamp, and is like what we put on there, and as far as like what people categorize us as, is we kind of just wing it. You know what I mean? Like when people say like, "Oh, what do you play?" and we're just like, "Oh, we play this," and we kind of just like throw some words out there because, in our opinion, like we have he was just naming like influences from Fleet Foxes and from artists like that, and which is such a different world from what we play. And then I have influence, me and Dan also share like influence from like Acid East Burn. We also have some in common, but also there's like such differences of like Austin liking more punk stuff, me liking more hardcore stuff, Dan liking more soft stuff. So I think what happens is like when we get into a room and we're all coming from different angles, that once we meet, it kind of makes what we have right now. And that's always evolving, because lately I've been into different things, and then the past couple weeks Austin's been listening to different records than he has been ever before. So that's why we're the new stuff that we're writing, the new record that we're writing, it's totally different from this last one, because we're continuously evolving with what we're listening to. In my opinion, it's like we're always changing that. So it's hard to like put a label on things and to name things. For us, I understand like a lot of people do it because you have to do it for other people to understand, and that's totally cool, and we have to do it, so we kind of like shoot in the dark with what we're doing. But I feel like in general we just like enjoy heavy, intense music, loud music as a collective, but we also enjoy soft parts. So you'll notice that we throw those in there. Dan's got like a softer voice and vocals too. So I think it's like a mix between like meeting that. So we kind of tag those type of things, you know, once we get it going. But yeah, I don't know if anyone else wants to add on that.
I mean, for me, like listing out genres and stuff like that, it's kind of a necessary evil. I'd rather not even do it, but like I get super tongue-tied. I think we all do anytime anybody asks us what we sound like. It's just kind of hard to describe because we just sound like the culmination of all of our influences. So it's like I don't know what word there is for that. It's some, you know, we can put like slowcore or post-hardcore or whatever you want to put on it, but I don't know. Sometimes it's so hard to describe. So I'm glad that what we've chosen to put online, I guess, kind of represents what we sound.
We try. So I'm glad that thank you for the compliment saying that we worked that out. So thanks.
Now, these are my last two questions. The first one is hair. Austin Dillon. When I see you perform live, all I see is hair. How did you grow such luscious, such wonderful, not golden, but such wonderful locks?
Well, like I started, so my thing was, I had like a promise to myself before even Austin got into the picture, is when I moved to Chicago, I shaved my head. So 3 years ago, I shaved my head down to like a 1, like all the way to where it was like super, super short. And I promised myself, until I'm satisfied with my life, my career, and my music, or in the direction that I wanted to go to, I was not going to cut my hair. I was just going to let it go, and it's just like a stupid thing I just made to myself. And then Austin saw me grow my hair out, and then he's like, oh, well, I could grow my hair out longer. And then I was like, okay, let's make a bet. Like whoever cuts their hair first is gonna owe the other person like $100 or $50. I think it was $50. So we like shook on it. We made a bet like in front of people. So now we're in this bet, and we've been in that for like a year and a half. Where it's gotten to the point where we're just like, you know, someone's gonna break eventually, I think. But the $50 is on the line at this point, so that's where it all comes from. That's a lot for us. Yeah.
You might think that that's nothing, but that's
$50 is a lot of money, man. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Now, what do you have any like? What can we expect from Lume in the future? What can we expect from you, wonderful dudes?
Dan?
New record, tours. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So we're writing a new record right now. We've got like 16 songs that we got to weed through. We're trying to kind of figure out where to record it right now and what to do with it. But we're going to finish out this Canadian tour, and then we're going to do an East Coast tour in July. We'll probably do a West Coast tour in the end of September, early October. And then I think we're going to record probably in November sometime. And after that, just wherever that takes us, really.
Awesome. Also, Dan, best name ever.
Yeah.
Dan, best name ever. Now, do you have any final words to the people, for your fans
thanks Canada for being like the best to us and always being so great. That's like the number one thing that I want to say. And thanks for the bands for always hooking us up with killer shows, and for just being collective and creative, which is awesome. And other than that, that's about it for me. What about
Said
you
it
guys?
best.
Yeah, I mean,
Support's been amazing, so everything's appreciated, and
Yeah.
it keeps us doing what we do. So
Yeah, listen to Life in Vacuum, Terry Green, Itsuko Chiba, Worst Gift, okay, Lust.
There's so if we forget,
If we forget another Canadian band,
Yeah,
we're sorry.
sorry.
But we
We're
love
better, yeah.
all of you that we've
Everyone's
came in
amazing.
contact with. So thank you.
Plume, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, Plum. Yeah, Plum. Is it Plum? Plume? I don't know how they pronounce
It's
it.
spelled Pluum, so look that up.
Yeah.
those guys are
They're
It's either
super
Plume
sick.
or Plum, I'm not sure, but they're sick too.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.